which we're going to give you a sneak preview of today and give everyone access to it. But I want to introduce my colleagues over in computer science. Jenny, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and then who you're sitting next to there?
Sure.
Or
I'm Jenny Lohefner. I'm the Associate Director at the Institute for Information Sciences, I2S, which is a research institute here at KU, largely composed of EECS faculty, electrical engineering and computer science faculty, but we're also pretty interdisciplinary. We have faculty from the mathematics department, philosophy department, law school. And so that's one of the ways that Jamie and I got connected was just some of this interdisciplinary work and largely around AI. And Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Daniel Nugent. I am a junior here at KU. I've been interested in computer science for many years, and I originally got involved with this from actually a class I was in Dr. Lohefner's class a few semesters ago, and then I've stayed on to do research ever since.
So today, the exciting thing we want to introduce to everyone is this little tool we put together. So probably about a year ago, maybe not quite a year ago, we had a vision to really kind of develop an AI-based chatbot for CIDDL that could actually kind of help personalize the CIDDL experience. I mean, one of the things we knew we had an issue of at CIDDL was that we have lots of information flowing out at one time, and a way to interact with it. I mean, people could do searches on CIDDL's website, which is great and fine and dandy. But what if you could just go in and ask the CIDDL website questions about itself? And so we initialized it as a personalized learning coach for CIDDL. And so Jenny and I started talking, and we brought in Daniel, started talking about this. And so today, what we're going to do, and it's going to be released publicly kind of to the grand public kind of next week. But today, what we're doing is kind of releasing it to a small group, people that are here and people on YouTube that are watching us later on, to a small group. But the CIDDL chatbot is there, and I'm going to show it. But Daniel, and Jenny, do you want to talk about how it was created and kind of what went into it?
Sure, yeah. So our CIDDL chatbot is based on a vector database and OLLAMA. So one of the really interesting things about our chatbot is that the data it's pulling from is actually all from our site, and in the future, potentially other trusted sources that we want to pull from. So for example, when you normally go to ChatGPT or another website like that and you ask a question, its training data is pretty much all of the internet, which can be problematic because you don't know how trustworthy that source is. But one of the benefits of using the CIDDL chatbot for like CIDDL related questions is that it first does a search of all of our content and then gives that context to the LLM so that it's able to answer in context. And it can also provide sources directly to our website. So if you see something and you think maybe that's interesting or I want to read more, you can link off directly to it and then go and read more.
One of the things I thought was exciting about this, because we've gone through different iterations and kind of tuning it a little bit and making it interact the way we do. So, like the perfect example I've given in multiple meetings is like when you type in assistive and technology as assistive technology that we would know in our field in special education, it could interpret it as assistive and technology, and then you would get quite a bit of crazy feedback because you would get everything that has technology in it, everything that gets assistive in it. You may or may not get it together. And so making sure that it picked up on some of the terminology of the field and being able to recognize that. What are some of the things when you think about that sort of work in training AI and supporting AI? Is that a pretty easy thing to do?
Um, so there's nuance, obviously. It's going to be very domain specific. So often when we're using a large language model or something, we want to tokenize something, and the same goes for a certain search. So as we progress with CIDDL, as we get more and more data of what people are searching for on average, instead of having assistive and technology being two different tokens or two different things we can search for, it can be combined into one, because obviously technology is a word that can be used a lot in and of itself. And if we want that paired together, we can do a lot of manual kind of vectorizing when we're putting everything in the database. So this is kind of another thing where it takes a little bit of know-how beforehand, but this is something that we can do because it's a closed source, which allows us to have a higher accuracy overall.
That's great. All right, so we put it through its paces here a little bit. Um, and I don't have my chat open for everyone today, but I can probably open that up. People are more than welcome to use it. So it's turned on. We don't have a link off our website yet, but we do have the ability to, we just provided you the URL right there. People can go ahead and use it. I'm going to just select something here. What should pre-service teachers learn about AI? And just kind of see how simple it responds to these things. And then it also provides sources that um, go back to the website, right? So it'll go back right to a source that we have within CIDDL that talks about this so that you can download it. Can you do the text to talk? Sarah says. Sure. So I can click on the text to talk. I haven't done this in a little bit of time. Let's hope it works.
Based on the provided documents, here are some key points that pre-service teachers should learn about AI. 1. Definition and explanation. Start by.
So it works. I can tell you, Sarah, that's a great question because when we initially did it, we couldn't, once we turned it on, you couldn't turn it off. And so these are the small things because it's considered beta right now. I mean, it's definitely a beta. We're testing it. We're getting feedback from everyone. And so learning those types of things are critically important. So as people are interacting with it, you guys are our beta testers right now. In fact, when we even release it next week, it's still gonna be in beta. So we are looking for feedback. The other thing that Daniel's really focused on and Jenny are focused on is making sure that it kind of communicates in a way that's useful for educators. So it's not going to kind of go into a lot of non-education sort of based language, we hope. And then the formatting is also in a way that we're trying to make sure it works. And we're obviously still working on all the formatting and all those sort of details. What other questions do we have? Any other questions around this stuff from the field or conversation that you want to have over on the other side of campus here?
All right. It looks like we have one question. Do you ever plan on ingesting personalized student data into AI tools for special education?
So, you can do it, but uh, the question's going to be whether you want to do it. In current publicly based models, I would avoid ingesting any personally identifiable information in those models. Now, as AI become more localized and school districts adopt it within their own system, that might be something that you want to look at doing.
All right. Another one. How do you ensure your chatbot continues to learn and improve over time?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if you guys want to handle that over there a little bit.
Yeah, so the main way that it grows over time and learns is there's kind of two different ways that we can do that. So first, we could do fine tuning. So let's say that, if you hit the like button and you're like, that's a really good response, we have a database on the back end that can store that. And then through fine tuning the model, if that was a good response, we can obviously say like, this is what we want more of, or this is what we want less of, so that we can tweak it in that way. But also as far as learning, what we can do is because the model isn't going off of, you can kind of think of the large language model isn't the thought process. The large language model is just what translates something into English, which means that it's really easy for us to just put something else in our database of trusted, reliable content. So if CIDDL makes a new blog, we just add the URL to that website and then automatically digest it. And then all of that new content is automatically in the bot.
Awesome. Okay, we have another one. How can we be sure that the AI bots are based on sound evidence?
You want to take that one about this one, or do you want to talk about generally, or I can jump in?
Sure. So as far as like whether it's based on sound evidence, that's kind of the reason why, in my opinion, this is so much better than just traditional ChatGPT or something by default. So we aren't really asking a chatbot like, hey, answer this question. It's more so, here's a question. Here are the three closest answers to what we think could be a response. If that isn't a valid response, then don't say anything. The example that we had is we don't want it to get off topic. So we hope that if you ask the CIDDL something that isn't related to special education or something like that, it will immediately redirect you. And in my eyes, that's a sign that it's not just hallucinating or spitting out whatever is most likely. What that's signifying is that we don't have anything in our training content or on our website that is related to this. That way it's redirecting and saying, hey, I don't know. We're kind of limited by the technology. So the best that we can do is segment it off in that way, and then also link off to credible evidence so that you can read more to clarify.
Now, another example of that, I will just say that you can also, and we'll maybe do a little office hours about this, but you can actually train, you can go to my GPT in OpenAI, for instance, and train a GPT. So, and we can show people how to do this later on. I'm teaching an AI machine learning course, and we did this the other day for education people. This is like, big time, right? But so I had created, and I actually just created this for my course, but released it. It's an HLP GPT that's now been released to the public, and it was trained on data around HLPs, reliable data. And so far, it's actually been quite nice at responding to people. In fact, a couple school districts are using it now, is what I'm finding out, in how they can support the use of HLPs in their classroom. So, and that was actually targeted to train on the HLP information that our fields kind of put out. So, but maybe we can actually do another office hours where we teach people how to make HL or GP their own GPTs. But the CIDDLBot's better than that because it's
Yes.
actually more fine-tuned.
Definitely. Sarah is asking, can the chatbot provide citations or references to peer-reviewed studies supporting its recommendations?
So if we were to load that in, the answer would be yes. So currently it's only based on the CIDDL dataset or the CIDDL website, but we've also played around with, like, let's say you want to add a PDF or something. We can add the name to the PDF or wherever it's located. So every single time I embed something in the database, it's called a knowledge graph. So it basically points towards something else. And then when we extract it for like those three sources or whatever the three closest values are, we link off to the source. So if we end up expanding to like scholarly papers or something like that in the future, I could just put the link there and then that would be the source instead of the CIDDL website.
Yeah, and that's kind of the plan, Sarah, over time. Obviously, as we're kind of testing this thing to make sure it's working the way that people expect it to work. But being able to then pull the most scholarly literature as it's kind of coming out to the field, because one of the questions we get asked all the time at CIDDL is how do you stay on top of everything? And I know, Sarah, you deal with this all the time too, because I know your work. So how we can actually integrate that into the chatbot is a vision that we have for the future.
All right. And what was your biggest challenge you faced during the development and how did you overcome it?
I would say the biggest challenge was moving from like doing stuff on my home computer to getting everything up on the server for CIDDL. It was a little bit challenging at first, but we are fully off my own computer now, which is exciting.
Yeah, I kind of agree I thought they were going to say dealing with me was their biggest challenge, but but I think the infrastructure at most of the universities, I mean, universities right now are struggling with what to do with AI. Some have fully embraced it. Some of them are kind of taking a slower position on it, and some of them are running from it. I think making sure that we have the infrastructure set up has kind of been a big challenge across campus, and going through all the security protocols and all the conversations around how to do this and then how to continually pay for it is also another ongoing issue. But that's another great question.
All right. Well, we're kind of coming to the end of our questions. We have a little bit of time left. Is there any other questions from our guests joining us?
Yeah, so you can ask questions if you've not been to an office hours before. It's quite literally an office hours. If you have any questions for CIDDL around AI, around things going on in the field, feel free to jump in and ask questions around anything you might have.
Right.
Can you
Well,
show,
go ahead,
oh,
Sam.
sorry. I was gonna say, can you show a little more of the bot and how someone might use it either to support coming up with materials for their teacher prep program or as part of their teacher prep program or as a pre-service, whatever?
Yeah, sure. So obviously right now, again, the corpus that it's pulling from is only our website. And so it is going to be a little bit limited in that, and hopefully by next academic year, it's going to be the corpus is going to be a lot larger. But you can go in and ask it. What would you like to ask it, Sam? Do you have a question?
I am preparing to teach my undergraduate special ed teacher candidate about the use of technology in the writing process. What should I consider?
Research
Or
teachers
make me a fun lesson plan.
about technology. I don't know if it'll do that. We'll see. About technology. Make me a fun lesson plan.
Technology in the writing process.
Oh, about technology in the writing process. What should let's do a multi-step. What should I include in this teaching? In this teaching. Yeah, if you've ever been live demonstrating something that's a beta, you know the concern and sweat that's running down the back of my neck right now. I don't know if it'll create a lesson plan.
It will. I asked it before I asked you
Oh,
to ask it. Because I have done live demos before. I would not have it do something. I also knew that it had stuff on technology and
oh, okay.
writing in the CIDDL website. So interestingly enough, it does not look like it pulled directly from CIDDL. Oh, yes, it did. Okay.
Yeah, it's
It
all
just cited
CIDDL's.
it wrong.
Yeah. So it actually did create a lesson plan.
But it's on science and it's at second grade.
Okay.
But
So
did you
these are
tell it to do writing in your second follow-up?
no, my second follow-up. That's the other thing we need to teach people. Maybe another one is kind of how to best prompt things. I just said create a lesson plan with this information. So these are the types of things that we need to learn. So as you're using the chatbot and provide us feedback, you know, have it do that sort of thing. I can tell you that I've created GPTs for each one of my classes, especially my undergrad class, and it has my syllabus in there, the demographics of the students, etc. And so it becomes a teaching assistant because I can tell it then, hey, we're teaching about functional behavioral assessments tomorrow. Give me some ideas for how to teach that and activities and it'll actually create those. So having a GPT trained on those sort of things are critically important. And we can maybe teach that soon. Um, any other questions from everyone? Anyone?
All right, well, I will stop the recording. We have a couple minutes left, so if you'd like to stay on and ask a few more questions, you're more than welcome to. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.